Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the QubicaAMF Tech Tip Podcast. This is a weekly podcast where we take you on a journey through the fascinating world of bowling technology and beyond. As always, I'm your host, Orly, and we have a special guest today. We have Brandon Brooks joining the show. And, you know, Brandon has been on the show many times now, but as always, I'm going to ask you to let everyone know your title with QubicaAMF and what you do with the company.
I am the technical documentation specialist, so pretty much in charge of gathering, organizing, and making sure that all of these technical documents are accessible for everybody in the company, making sure they're up to date and accurate, and kind of making sure everybody's got what they need.
Perfect. So, Brandon, today what we wanted to talk about was, I know coming up here, we have time changing again. I want to say daylight savings, but I don't know if it's considered daylight savings, and I don't know. I get them all mixed up. It's called one thing, and it springs forward one time of the year, it springs back another time. So I don't know if you say daylight savings every time. I don't know. I don't want to be confusing about that, but time is going to change. Let's put it that way. Coming up here in March, and I'm sure you guys start getting like a lot of calls with people saying, my time didn't change in the system, or maybe like their reservations. So I just kind of wanted to have you go over that. If it doesn't change, maybe, or what they need to do to change it, or if it's supposed to change on its own. I don't know. So from there, I will let you take over and kind of explain what they need to do, or and to make that possible for them.
Sure. So probably the most important thing to do is to make sure that the Conqueror server is on the correct time zone and has the correct date. So pretty much there is a setting inside of Conqueror under center setup, and there's a little checkbox. It's called external time server. Now, when that is checked off, it means that each Conqueror terminal is getting its time setting from Windows directly, and basically it means that it's looking at that server for its time. So as long as we have this option checked, then all of the Conqueror terminals, everything should update and change at the same time that the Windows time changes on the server. Sometimes it won't change. Sometimes there is difficulties with different terminals changing, or, one terminal, a POS station or something like that might not change. Once again, just checking, making sure you have external time server checked off in your center setup. If you've got that checked off, then what we might suggest doing is going to the server and highlighting your queue. So you've got the green queue running by the time. Right-click it and just hit restart, or if you stop the services, make sure the time is correct and then restart the services, then all of those other terminals should sync back up and have the correct time. But otherwise, as long as you've got external time server saved and checked off inside of Conquer, then all of your terminals and everything in Conquer should change whenever the time change happens.
Okay. And I have a quick question, a little curveball for you. Hopefully you don't get too nervous with this one, but can anyone do this? Because I know at the center, we had the front desk. I was trying to change the time. You'd think it'd be easy, and I'm trying to click the time down. They're like, why isn't this computer changing? And then it wanted, like an authorized person to do it, or, the administrator. And I was like, let me go try to figure this out. So I don't know. Is that something, who would have, do they need something special to get in to do that?
I was going to say that is a good point. Some of those permissions or some of those users have certain permissions enabled on them where you will need to be logged in as the administrator to change the time. So it's probably a good rule of thumb that if you don't know the administrator credentials, you probably shouldn't be changing it. So
okay, I'm not sure why. The only thing I can think of is maybe if you're changing the time and having to do with your time clock stuff, that might people might mess with that. I don't know if is that a reason maybe there's a lock on that.
Like I said, it's mainly a Windows user permission. So the Windows user of administrator is the one who's got the ability enabled to, go in and change the time down to the second. So if that's something you need to do, or if you're struggling to change the time on a computer and it keeps changing back, then you might want to check which user you're logged in as. And it might just be asking your manager what the credentials are, and you can get logged in and change it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It was a quick, easy one, but I think a very important one, especially with time changing this coming weekend. I'm excited for it because it's going to stay lighter a little later at night now.
That's what we're all looking forward to.
Yeah. Well, again, Brandon, thanks for joining the show. And if you're new to the show, make sure to go back and listen to past shows. Brandon's been on many times, and other great people that help us answer a lot of these questions to be able to help us with some of these tech tips that we need answered. So until next time, we will talk to everyone again soon.